Hello, this is Friendly Cat. We're going to do our Hearts of Iron 4 achievement run, Siberian Tiger, with the By Blood Alone DLC. It's going to be a lot of fun here, folks. The start for this run involves taking political power, justifying on Sinkiang, and then Xibei. We're also going to take the Army Experience Fellow to give us movement speed, and then use that Army XP to choose Spirit of the Army that gives us manpower. We're also going to take improved worker conditions and the fascist demagogue. You can see we're building railways out, planning for the future into those supply hubs into the Soviet Union. A priority railway is around into Sinkiang, so that as we continue our adventures down there, we've got it. We'll be licensing equipment from the Soviet Union to get that research bonus. All pretty standard things. And the biggest difference in the By Blood Alone is that the Soviet Union will try to take land in Sinkiang, so we will need to be moving those cavalry around to get as much war score as possible. These are 1 battalion divisions. I think we've got 8 here on the screen, and by moving them around in every direction, we're going to beat the Soviets to the ground, to the occupation score and the occupation war score. And we're taking a little bit of time to show this in the video. You can see that it's not that difficult, and we'll get enough war score that we will take the entire country. We will contest any spot that the Soviet Union wants, but because we have more war score, we will be able to take it back. Even if we lose it in a round, we'll just take it in the next round. Then we'll do on the same to Xibei, just plan to move those horses around. In this case, I don't even think the Soviet Union even contested any of that land. We just took it. And so far, so good. Our next fun adventure is Tibet and the Phoney War of Tibet. We will be justifying and then going to war with Tibet, primarily for the purposes of generating Lend Lease from Germany and Italy. Certainly initially we will not be engaging in battle, but once our army gets built enough and we're ready to start going to war or plan for war with China, we'll put our troops on the border and let Tibet smash their armies against us. We probably should have used puppets here, but I used my own troops and we lost some manpower. No big deal. We eventually, when we're ready to go with war with China, then finish off Tibet and prepare for the naval invasion of China. This is an important part of the run. We want to beat China to the outer ports. We want to cut China off from the south of cut Japan off from the south of China. So you notice we're doing this naval invasion with our troops, our shock troops, so as powerful as possible to take the port and then head toward Jinan. That's an important supply hub. If we can beat Japan to Jinan, that means they've got less supply and they'll have a harder time crossing that river. They're already attacking Jinan. We are on the clock here. We need to move quickly. There are actually 2 supply depots here, one a little bit south, but we want Jinan. Oh yeah, since we Lend Lease some fighters and close air support, let's send them in, see what they can do to help us out. We're moving pretty well. We're also going to be bringing our other divisions in. We actually have the Japanese Navy covering us. We did not need to pull the Soviets into the war. And once we've got Jinan, we're going to say on the clock to do our next naval invasion to the south. We are racing Japan to those ports. If Japan beats you to the port, it isn't ending the run. It isn't a run-ending adventure, but certainly makes it easier to beat them to the port, to cut them off, and at the same time continue to head southwest along the river. We want to stay ahead of Japan to the extent possible to keep them bottled up as north of the river as we can. And here we go, land in the south. Now it's kind of annoying that the Chinese will blow the river or do damage to the river, so we cannot strategically redeploy, but neither can they. So once you get your landing in the south, you've got some time to expand out before China can get down there. And once your cavalry gets out there, continue to move around. As much as possible, you want to, again, say you use your troops, actually Tanatuvian troops, to expand out. And of course, Lend Lease like there's no tomorrow. Generally in the first week of April, Lend Lease will be available for the non-aligned countries because Germany will be completing its fate of Czechoslovakia focus, I think. So take it all, continue to move your troops around, minimize the occupation war score from your puppets because that will have them gain autonomy and eventually they may break free. At the very least, they'll require more manpower. You'll notice that the red troops, are as much as possible, are the cavalry are Tanatuvian troops, so the cavalry run ahead, and then the puppet troops stay behind for covering, so that they get less war score. And here you can tell we've actually beaten Japan quite a bit, and at the same time as we sweep around into Ganzai and Yunnan. As we progress through here, we can start to take deeper breaths and feel a little more relaxed. The toughest part of the run is done. As we close up against Communist China, that means Japan, without access to the ports and without access to us, can no longer cross into the heart of China. It's getting easier with each passing month. There's certainly some micromanagement as we move around, but again, it's easier with each month. And in this case, it looks like Communist China didn't really hold their capital as well as they could have. Let's take it. It's a supply hub around mountains, which will help us a great deal when we end up fighting Japan. Well, soon enough, China will be just about falling to our forces, and it's time to go after Japan. Japan is a little bit tough, certainly as we cross the river. So let's make sure we put troops behind the lines, along the railway lines, along the ports, along the supply hubs, because in the peace conference we're not sure what states or provinces we're going to be able to keep. And in this case, I didn't do a very good job. I thought I'd do much better. I managed to keep Ganzai and Yunnan and some of the areas to the north, but the large part of the middle we lost out on, and if we didn't have troops there, it's potential that they would lose a port. Japan could just start rallying troops in, and so we want to make sure we hold those ports. And since we're at war with Japan, even if we lose it during the peace conference, we'll immediately regain those areas because we have troops sitting on the ports. And you're going to see that as we come out of this peace conference, it's like, oh, it's really rough. Actually, it's not so bad because we managed to keep the victory points and it looks a little spotted. And we also managed to keep supply, so we're going to then rerun our cavalry as much as possible to regain those spots. We say our cavalry, not the puppet, because we want to minimize the autonomy gain and war score gain from those puppets. Looks like there's a medium tank up here. Oh, I like medium tanks. That's really cool. It's unfortunately looks like it's kind of cut off, and it won't be long before it's destroyed. But I still like it. I still like what Japan's doing with that medium tank, holding the supply depot. We're actually able to expand fast enough and ahead of the main army because that strategic redeploy issue around that, I think it's the Yellow River, makes it hard to move troops up to cover the advance, which is moving so quickly. That's okay. Just continue to move yourself along. Continue to head on up toward Mukden, and as a usual attack across this part, if Japan holds this part of Manchuria, your goal is to head east to cut off the Korean peninsula. Once you've made that connection, the rest of the battle becomes much easier. It's moderately challenging right now, but once you can cut off every Japanese troop north of that line from a supply from their capital, you've got a much easier time. And then on your way to Pusan, and that's largely it. After that, it's a mop-up. And here Japan decides to put 8 divisions into a corner. That's really cool because it's very low supply, so it's tough for us, but we will eventually mop them up. Spread out your troops, be prepared for naval invasions. We're going to be hanging out until the middle of July, 1941, and here comes a nice Japanese naval invasion. If we hadn't planned ahead, if we didn't have divisions out there, this might be a tough bit to clean up, but because we did have troops standby, it's a matter of wiping them out, and then of course destroying that nice medium tank that landed off the port behind a river. Japan decided to also start bombing us, which affected war score, so you can see we're starting to research next level airplanes, deploying airplanes to do what we can to intercept. We weren't particularly effective with the planes we had, but we did what we could. 1941, leave the Comintern. Quick justifying Russia, a 10-day justification because we're already at war with Japan and Russia is at war with Germany. They won't have enough time to redeploy troops to our borders. Fantastic. This is the time, this is the moment to race ahead. Now I knew we would lose supplies somewhere once we lost the Comintern. What I didn't realize is that we would get cut off in the capital. Our own capital would lose its own supply. No big deal. We already planned ahead. We built a railroad around Mongolia. So let's continue to expand out along those rail lines we had built back in 1936 and 37 toward the supply depots in the Trans-Siberian Railway. Expand around in every which direction, and we're going to have a good time, a very good time, just racing ahead while Russia, the Soviet Union, sprints its troops home. Now we still have supply issues at home, a lot of red, and a lot of red around our capital because apparently we're not connected to the capital, even though we are the capital. I think they moved the capital down to into China actually, and somehow it decided that railway didn't count. And oh, we connected the railway, and we didn't get supplies. So I loaded the game, reloaded. It does not recognize that railway. That's unfortunate, but that's okay. We'll live with it. I'm optimistic that we'll connect through the Siberian Trans-Siberian Railway, or if not, we'll build railway through the middle of Mongolia. Be cautious if you're in a non-supply area, particularly directly to the west of Sinkiang. Don't just keep running out there. There's nothing out there. There's no supply depots. We're all pink, all red. Oh, it's blue! And that's the connection. Fantastic. The Trans-Siberian Railway was a valid railway connection, so once that connected, our capital was now connected to whatever the capital is. Head west, have fun, and let's Paradrop Japan while we're at it. Maybe this is my favorite part of the run. I don't know. I certainly like dropping on Japan. We have an air force. Japan didn't put up an air force over their own home island, so we just kept ours on standby. If they had put it up, we would have launched to maintain or try to get air superiority. The landing is touch and go. You can see that red bubble, negative 14% or 14% red, but we land another troop. Before long, we're able to hold off enough. We're racing divisions into the port, regular assault divisions in, that are fresh from their fighting with Russia. And if they can land, then we're in good shape. And sure enough, they can land. The bubble goes green. And I think this is just about the first time we're going to start actually using real battle plan. November 1941. It's been a while. We're going to put troops, we're going to start battle planning, and start planning toward the end. We still have months to go before the run is complete. But I'm feeling better with each passing month. Japan is actually doing a good job defending themselves, and I'm getting a little bit sloppy, a lot of red bubbles, I think supply issues, just overwhelming. We should have been a little more careful and cautious, but sure enough, Japan will eventually succumb to the overwhelming force. And one of the nice things about in this run is it means the resistance across the board goes down because instead of dealing with capitulated nations and that plus 10% resistance, they're done. We've also got the Japanese Navy. If we wanted to go in for a world conquest, that would be very helpful. Meanwhile, we're heading west. Here we are in December 1941, and we're starting to think toward the end. We're almost done. Keep heading west. Oh, and look, there's Romania. There's the access lines. And that means the moment of end is here. We can race as much as we can to the west just to ensure we have the war score to make sure we get those, I think it's 6 or 7 provinces that we need for the decision, but we've definitely got enough war score by now. Here we are in the peace conference. Now we're going to take the states, that we need for the decision, and just for fun, I'm going to see if we can cut Germany off. Prior to buy blood alone, we could cut off Germany, and so good, let's cut them off. Let's see if they will stay on their side of the line. Let's use our war score as best we can. Are we going to get lucky? Let's see if we can get lucky. I feel lucky. And we're lucky. Awesome. Germany stayed on their side of the line. Fantastic. Oh, they did not. Oh, no, they decided to go border corps. Alright, no worries. This is still a fantastic run. I enjoyed playing it. It's a lot of fun. And I hope you enjoyed it too. If you have any other runs or achievements or ideas you want to know more about Lend Lease, tips and tricks, anything, feel free to put something in the comment and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching.